America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, members of the public, anybody got anything they want to speak to?
Jim?
I'm good.
I do.
All right,
First of all, I'd like to request again that everybody mask up here. There's a posting here in Town Hall that a mask must be worn here. This is a closed group. I haven't had COVID. I don't intend to get COVID. There's a possibility that any one of you could be a silent carrier.
okay, thank you.
And if you don't, no, I have 3 minutes, Dan.
Oh, yeah, no,
I
I'm
have-
saying
I have
if
3
you got
minutes.
concern, you can still talk.
Okay, I have some questions. I've been hearing that some of our officers are claiming that they don't get a half-hour lunch and then adding a half hour to their time card because they haven't got a half-hour lunch. I'd like that verified by the chief. Also, there was a practice that began years ago under Chief Zukaki where officers leave town to go home for lunch. I suggest that that policy be discontinued and that all officers remain in town for their lunch. There's absolutely no reason for any of our emergency services personnel to be 10 or 15 minutes away to respond to an emergency in this town. That's it for now.
Okay. Anybody else in the public? All right. We'll go on. Budget update, Chief?
I think we have the minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Nominations.
Yeah, no,
Nominations.
I had the wrong sheet in front of me, I digress, I apologize, sorry, I was looking at page 2. All right, so we tabled the nominations because it was 3-3, whatever it was, we haven't decided. So the nominations are still open if anybody wants to nominate.
I would like to make a statement.
Yep.
Okay. I am going to withdraw my name for the possibility of being the chairman of the police commission because of the situation, it might be a 3-3 tie. Also, and Mr. Harrington, if there is a three-way tie, will not appoint anyone. So I think it's better for the commission that we start off on a good note. And I feel as though that I will cast my vote for Mike Hannaford, and I think he'll be a good commissioner. And I also would like to have this commission become homogeneous.
Well, we definitely strive for that. We definitely strive, thank you. All right, well, we do have to, we tabled the nominations, so we don't have to redo them. If the only person we have is Mike Hannaford as remaining person for chairman, still on the board. Everybody agree to that?
Who's gonna second the
motion.
nomination?
Is it gonna
You have a
be-
motion?
You have a motion to.
Well, we motioned,
Second the motion.
yeah, all right, we motioned the other day. We want to read it?
He's motioning right now.
Okay, so go ahead.
I'll make a motion that we nominate Mike Hannaford to be chairman of the police commission.
Somebody second it?
I'll second that.
Mike Berry. Any discussion on that?
Ask for any other nominations.
Yes.
Okay, any other nominations?
I just follow protocol.
Yeah, that's
I
why
know
you're
what the
here.
answer's
That's why you're here. We appreciate it. All right, any nominations other than? All right, that matter's closed. We can vote on it. All in favor of Chairman Mike Hannaford being the chairman, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? All right, that passes. Now we have to do the vice. Same deal? Do we have any nominations for the judge?
I'm gonna make a nomination that Bob Corsieri be vice chairman.
Any second that?
Second.
All right. Any comments from the board? Okay, we'll vote on that one. All in favor? Say
Aye.
Any abstentions? Okay. So we are all set. We have a chairman of the police commission.
Oh, excellent.
All right? I didn't want to, I wasn't.
Who is it?
Mike Hannah.
Oh, gee, no, congrats,
I
Mike.
wasn't sure of how much you got going on, so I wanted to let you know.
No, I appreciate, I just looked at my clock and realized I was actually across the hall. But is there any action you guys need, because I have a Board of Finance meeting, not that, do you need me here
No, we
tonight?
understand that.
You're
If
good?
we need you, we'll call you. We understand you wear many hats.
Call the chief.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
All right. All right, we're going on to the approval of the November 1st minutes, which is where I was a couple minutes ago.
I think we changed.
I'll make a motion that we, I make a motion that we approve the minutes as read.
Okay. Anybody?
So those are November
I thought
first.
I'd run this
November,
out. I thought I'd
November,
run this out for the night, but if
Dan.
you want it,
Dan, November first minutes.
yes.
I think once it's elected, I think you get it.
Hey, I'll give it to you. I don't have a problem. Watch this.
If they dethrone yourself, I'm sorry.
I am no longer the acting chairman of the police commission because we have a chairman. So the rest is gonna be done by Mr. Hannah. But I ain't switching seats with you.
No need to,
This one just got one.
no need to. Approval of the November 1st, 2021 meeting minutes.
You want me to do it again?
Yeah, please.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of November 1st, 2021, as written.
So, you got a second, all right? I'll second.
Any discussions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? So moved.
Well, I'll abstain because I was not present, and in fact, it was the day before the election, so I'll abstain from. Yeah, Tim McGraw, the DeGraff is abstained too. Because neither one of us were on the police
Yeah, well,
commission.
the issue is some of those people that aren't here,
Right.
and some of those people that aren't on the board anymore can't vote for them.
That's all right.
So we gotta get it closed. All right.
We still have four of them.
Yeah, we still got-
No, I wasn't.
Mike wasn't
Yeah, I
here?
wasn't here, I just.
I was here. Mike Fashino was here, but he's not
You
here.
can vote on them whether you were there or not.
Right,
Was
exactly.
it a, it
Still
was
ran.
You,
something or do you
actually,
want to
the, actually, the rule states, if you read the minutes, like, as a member not being here, you can vote on it,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
So they can actually vote.
You can, I thought about that, you know, and I could, but if I was on the police commission and I wasn't at that meeting, I would feel, okay to vote, but because I wasn't even on the police commission, I don't know, I don't.
I know, but the rules state that if you read them, that you can vote.
So basically, you'd just be going off of us. I mean, none of us had found any
Yeah.
errors or anything like that,
Right.
so.
It's gonna get approved by.
No, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying that, you know, we
Yeah.
could.
We'll go with four.
Yeah.
Or,
Quorum.
next, we have the approval of the December 8th, 2021 meeting minutes. Do I have,
I have some questions on it. On the minutes on page 1, on item 3, under the motion nominate Bob Cruiser chair and to nominate Mike Hanford, you have 3 in favor and 3 abstain. There were not 3 abstain, there were 3 opposed.
You're right.
Opposed.
I wrote abstain instead of opposed. Apologize.
All right, we'll fix that.
I didn't get to it.
It's hard. We understand.
I must have been asleep now,
good find, Doug.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I read that. I mean, just never even registered.
Otherwise, we would have voted, the
Right.
way it reads, you voted in 2 chairmen. So you guys would have been co-chairmen, I don't know how that would have worked, but.
Well, as far as I'm concerned, we basically are.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I'll bring it forward.
That's corrected, yeah.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion on the minutes? All those in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? So moved. Next, I'll turn over to the chief for the budget update.
Okay, Commissioners, the next 2 pages are the current budget, where we stand. Everything's in line historically, what we're doing, we don't have any red flags. Outside overtime line, it was reduced, that we keep talking about every month. If there's any specific questions on the line, again, this is the current operating budget, so obviously we're a little more than halfway through the year, so we head into February, so.
Yeah, just as an observation, this doesn't do anything at all. It's just an observation that you're on track to come in at a lower overtime. The overtime area is the ones that are varying. It looks like you're gonna come in at a lower overtime that you've had in past years. That's,
There's a lot of variables in there, so depending on what happens with the year and anything that, you know, crime scenes, that kind of thing, and also the winter months tend to be the lower. Holidays, we get a lot of overtime come spring, so it isn't always, you know, it fluctuates quite a bit, so. I would expect we would be a little bit under from last year, but I think it's a little early to plot that out yet. But, and I just want to say, last year also, in our budget, we absorbed officers that retired and buyouts and things of that nature that aren't even budgeted, so.
Any other comments, concerns, discussion? You good? Okay. Phil? All right, we'll move on to the chief's report.
All right, just very basic this month, COVID. We give you the COVID update every month. The new variant has been kind of mild. We've had a few officers come down with it, out for 4 or 5 days off and then back. So as of right now, all our patrol officers are on duty and working, and we have 1 dispatcher that will be returning hopefully in the next day or 2. So it definitely is spreading around more than earlier on, but it appears that the duration is much shorter. And some of the new CDC guidelines shortening the times for isolation, et cetera, have helped us.
Chief, is there a quarantine time if they know they got COVID? Is it mandatory they be?
Well, right now, the CDC is a 5-day.
5 days? is it?
5 days, yeah. But we require them to have a negative test to come back. So, and if it were to continue, we'd have to look at it on a case by case. But so far, everybody has tested negative, prior to coming back. I guess there's some outlying cases where people continue to test positive weeks out, even though they're asymptomatic, they're not spreading. We haven't had that situation, but we would deal with that one as the case came up if we had to. Our new officer update, our new hire started the academy on Friday. So that's going to be a long process, and everything so far is positive, and we'll keep you updated as he progresses through the academy.
Is that new officer a replacement for
Yeah.
someone that retired?
Yes, that's correct, yep. And we currently have 1 more opening, which we're in the testing process for, the application process and testing, so.
We good?
Yeah.
All right, number 8, new business.
Okay, I guess the crux of the evening is the proposed budget. I tried to get it out a little bit earlier to you to give you some time to look at it. Looking through, it's a very basic budget, so And I know we have a few newer commissioners, and having never seen that, might have questions. I sent you a little kind of historical look at things. Hopefully you read that prior to tonight. But basically, as of right now, we're looking to go to the Board of Finance on February 22nd, present the budget. The budget right now has an increase of $97,900 from last year's budget. That's a 2.4% increase from the current. Of that 97,000, 91,000 is contractual pay rate increases. So we're talking about really, peanuts in a $4 million budget. The increases that are there are professional testing, only an increase of $1,500. And what that line is, when we send new officers or candidates for polygraph, psychological, drug testing, we also have to do that now with our current employees. With the police accountability bill, we have to send them for behavioral health assessment every so many years, drug testing every so many years. So those are all new costs. Last budget year, we did up it slightly because of that. We knew it was coming, but the costs have been higher than we anticipated. So that's a $1,500. The next line is the emergency medical dispatch. And that's something that our law requires us to do. We farm out our 911 calls for medical. We're required by law that when somebody calls 911 for a medical issue, a dispatcher or someone trained has to give medical instructions, stay on the phone, and continue that. So in our operation, where we really just have one dispatcher working, it's physically impossible to do. We have to answer all the phone calls. So any department in our situation, we farm that out. And that costs $27,000. It went up $180 for next year. That's a contractual. And that's what that is. The next item that went up that isn't labor related is the telecommunication line, $4,800. And basically with all the new technology that we're bringing into the department, the requirement of body cam and car cameras, and the new system that we're bringing in, everything is uploaded via the internet, and our current bandwidth, and we actually already changed our current bandwidth and capacity, was almost like a home kind of environment. We'd never handled that type of thing, so we had to upgrade that substantially, and that's where the $4,800. The rest of that letter I talked about just historically, some of the items with overtime, and I'll just go over it because I know some of the commissioners heard it every meeting, every year. Board of Finance also, I kept continuing this. But historically, over the last 9 to 10 years, the overtime line was funded at $310,000. So 9 years ago it was $310,000, up until 2 years ago it was $310,000. 2 budget cycles back, Board of Finance reduced it to $210,000, even though historically we've been averaging $360 to $370 a year. We've been able to always cover that with overages in the budget, so that's kind of what they rely upon. But when you drop it that significantly, it's not realistic that we're able to operate that. So basically what that overtime does is just fill contractual openings, required a minimum people on the road for safety for our officers and the public. So we continue that fight. I'll present it again to the Board of Finance, but again, it's been 2 years, there's been no increase. And at the end, it's the same thing with last year. We were over budget last year, but they knew that going into it, and at the end of the budget year, money from within the overall budget was moved to that. But I just don't want any surprises, nor anybody not knowing that at the end of the year. You have the total budget, that's the spreadsheet, and that really goes over every line. And the second to the right column shows where the increases are. And again, if you look all the way down, that's the $97,900 overall increase in the budget. And then you have the narrative that kind of explains, if you have any questions within a line, what goes in there. Again, it's a very bare bones, labor intensive budget, you know, it's over 90% labor costs.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you, I mean, I went over this budget quite for a long time. It seems like what you're trying to do is inflate a lot of items. I mean, I'm involved with the sewers, and that's really a big project. Inflate a lot of items that you can make up for the overtime. Because it looks like you're always, you know, way over, and then you grab and move, you transfer money to cover the overtime.
We transfer at the end of the year, but most of that transfer money, if there's an opening, comes from the regular wage lines. So like right now, we have an officer position open, right? So we're still budgeted that money, but we have to pay overtime to fill a portion of those shifts. And at the end, if we don't have a full allotment of officers, we should have excess in that. So we move that then over. But if we're at the situation where part of last year, hopefully this year, will be at full capacity, there's not gonna be any excess in that line.
Right.
So, there's no lines that are over, it's just purposely over to move around. Sometimes we move our gas, you know, we might have $5,000 left in.
Yeah, I
Things of
mean,
that
this
nature,
year's
you know.
probably gonna be a bad year with the gas.
Yeah, I think we're close to going over already.
Do you get a bid on the gas, or is that?
That's a town bid,
Yeah, because
so they go out and bid.
Yeah, we bid everything in the sewers.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah,
chemicals, gas,
So
everything.
we get that from finance, what the proposed,
So do you have it locked in?
the town locks it in.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
So you sort of protect it a little
Right,
bit?
right. But, you know, we also maintain the gas pumps at the PD, but we're not the only ones that use that too. There is some fire usage and actually some public works also in there. But the majority is the police department.
But is there a way to distinguish who?
Yeah, you can pull up, yeah, there is a card, like, punch
Yeah,
in.
you have a
and
code for
yeah,
each,
code
for each
yes.
department, police or fire or
Yeah.
whatever? All right.
Yeah.
That answers my question.
So to answer your question, there's nothing overly inflated.
Because I see there's so many, I mean, I do the sewer budget, and I try to keep everything almost to the penny if I can. But I look at what's on here, I mean, you can see how many transfers are made in a year and how many overages there are. And I'm just wondering if the finance board is forcing you to do something like this to cover your overtime.
Well, the short answer to that is yes, that's
No, but I
that's
mean-
the plan.
I mean,
because
can't we fight a little harder with these people?
I would love.
I mean, I fight, I'll tell you, I don't throw in the towel, I'll stand there right to them and just,
February 22nd, I'd love to have you next day if you'd like.
no, I mean,
No, that's when we do it.
yeah, I know, but you might, you know, obviously, they all know me, and I think you might have a little bit of shot that I really put these boots to them.
No, I'm more than happy.
No,
to
because
have
I
you,
think
but-
the police should be covered under overtime.
Yeah.
That's the most important
Yeah.
function in this town,
Well,
is to keep it safe.
It's common sense that $310,000.
I know, I looked at the numbers, I
10 years.
went back 5 years.
Right, 10 years ago, $310,000 bought you a lot more hours,
It's
man
actually,
hours, than it does today.
it's actually laughable.
So we've been reducing every year.
No, but I mean, what they did is laughable.
Well, it's I have a different term, it's laughable, but it's, you know, we
It
operate.
doesn't even
within
make
that.
sense. It
No, it
doesn't
doesn't
make,
make
I mean, if you do your homework and you look back 5 years, I mean, I don't know who came up with this thinking at the finance board.
The board doesn't want to increase budgets,
Go there
keep them
February
as low as
22nd, you'll
possible.
see.
You know, and
Yeah, but that's one thing that I mean, that's the most important thing, I think, one of the most important things in the town of wlocks is the police department. And you're gonna need overtime. Crime is not going down. Things, I mean, we had the COVID, I mean, there's a lot of situations.
it's a necessary evil within a police department.
And
We're no-
inflation-
We're no different than any other.
And
police
let's put it this way, FedEx, UPS, they were sunk this Christmas with overtime.
Mhm.
They have to pay the overtime. We have COVID problems, we have people sick and everything, we have to cover.
Yeah.
So they have to have the foresight to say, look, this is an unusual situation. We gotta bend to help the police department.
You
To
know,
me, as far as I'm concerned, is defunding the police.
You're preaching to the choir.
Yeah,
You really are. We've had this discussion with every one of those members. Yeah, I don't know,
Yeah.
what do they say, you can't fight City Hall?
Well, you're
Well,
gonna,
they control the
you're
purse
gonna have to fight them.
and you only can
We
do
have
so
to
much.
find.
but you know, the bottom line though is that if we need to fill people, we fill it. That's why we go over in the line. And I just advise them that, listen, we're unrealistically funded in this line. We will be going over, we're already over half a year, at the half-year point. So, you know, I think from a Board of Finance point of view, they're counting on money left in the budget at the end of the year in other places.
And they're gonna,
And
they're
they're
gonna
not even in
transfer.
our budget, it could be in
Oh.
Public Works, it could
Oh.
be, and then they'll transfer without increasing the overall budget, you understand,
So they're playing that
so
game.
that it's, you know, we're still operating, you know, we have to maintain a certain amount. You know, I always say, we're not Stop and Shop, I can't shut down an aisle, you know,
Right.
when people are called, you know, so we continue to do what we have to do. But we do no extra either, so some departments can run many extra patrols, this type of thing, proactive. We're strictly maintaining the basic operation.
And to me, it looks like they really didn't think it out with the situations that exist today in the past, and looking at the history, and to come up to the conclusion that you cannot cut by $100,000 the budget. It's ridiculous.
I agree.
Like you said, there's been a lot of changes, and, you know, you're absolutely right, crime's up, and serious crime is up.
And it's gonna
And
get
I think-
worse.
I think 10 homicides
Yeah.
in, what, 2 years, 3 years in this town is astronomical for a town this size. But, you know, like the chief said also, all these nuances, all of these new regulations imposed upon us by the police accountability
And the
bill.
state,
And these psychological exams and this and that, it doesn't necessarily stop there, you know? So I mean, this could really parlay much further than what it shows here, you know? I think, I might be wrong, Chief, correct me, but, you know, I think that's something we're gonna see as this goes on and we go through it. But, you know, as far as the 22nd goes, please, if all of us can be there, I think a strong showing by our board would be very helpful. I mean, I think this is one of our biggest responsibility as a police commissioner, is supporting a budget, a realistic budget that we need to operate accordingly. As the chief said, I mean, this is a bare bones budget. I mean, it looks like a lot maybe to some people on paper, but the bottom line, it's bare bones. And we're working with just the basics. The chief said, nothing extraordinary here, no special units or this or that, you know, so.
I don't know, Commissioner Glazer was on the Board of Finance when I first came here. You know, overtime's always an issue, no matter where you are. You know, it's something that no Board of Finance wants to fund, you know, it's a reality. But we did work pretty hard to increase the manpower, and we added a few bodies to the department. We're still not quite where I'd like to be, but, you know, we have made, you know, progress. So I don't want to make it sound like, you know, we didn't do it, you know, there hasn't been any kind of support. There has, but this, we need a realistic, as you're saying, funded
Right.
overtime line.
It doesn't even make sense what they
Yeah,
did.
so.
It's not
And
logical.
that's really,
It's not logical.
that's really the basic, you have all the, you know, if there was any questions specific to a line or something, I'm more than happy to answer anything in there. But again, you know, when you have a 97,000 increase and 91 of it is wages, it doesn't give you too much, you know, to talk about.
Wages are roughly 60% of your budget, so that's the biggest.
Yeah, with everything, it's higher than that, yeah.
Like the school system here is 2/3, the school system alone
Yeah.
is 2/3 of our budget,
Right.
of the whole town budget. So wages and salary.
Yeah, we do a motion to approve this to be presented on the 20, you know, to the Board of Finance.
Do we have a motion to approve the budget as drafted to be presented to the Board of Finance?
I'll make a motion that we approve the budget that has been drafted to be reviewed by the Board of Finance.
Do a second?
I second that.
Motion is made and seconded. Do we have any further discussion on the budget? Any comments, questions, concerns?
Yeah, I think it's a little low. I think, we should be doing more training and some other stuff, but that'll come when the town opens their eyes a little bit. These state mandates are coming, and they're gonna keep coming, and we're gonna keep footing the bill. And those people down in the state aren't gonna give us any of their money, their hard-earned money. And you're gonna see cops getting bashed for doing their job. And the answer is we need more training and we need more, community policing, we need more opportunities for these guys that are out there working hard to go out and be in the community so that people know who they are. Because the days of every cop living in Windsor locks working here, it's no longer the case. And that has changed. And we're lucky, we've hired some really, really positive guys, good cops, great.
We're really
guys
blessed
know
with the
people.
quality of people we have, you know, and they're under an amazing amount of strain, publicly and from the administration, politically. Everything they do is watched so closely today. It's a different world out there. You know, the public expects that our officers to be social workers, they expect them to be counselors. You know, when there's a, you know, an active shooter in a school, they expect them to act like Rambo, and then they, you know, so I mean, no, they're
No
human
medium.
beings too, you know, I mean, so